The fire had burned down to red embers and gray ashes, leaving the familiar decayed pattern of exhausted fuel. The man in black was seated next to it, smacking his lips with unlovely enthusiasm over the greasy remains of the rabbit. "You did fairly well," the man in black said. "I never could have sent that vision to your father. He would have come back drooling." "What was it?" the gunslinger asked. His words were blurred and shaky. He felt that if he tried to rise, his legs would buckle. "The universe," the man in black said carelessly. "Universe?" the gunslinger said blankly. It was a word with which he was unfamiliar. His first thought was that the other was speaking poetry. "You want the tower," the man in black said. It seemed to be a question. "Yes." "Well, you shan't have it," the man in black said, and smiled with bright cruelty. "You know nothing of me," the gunslinger said quietly, and the smile faded from the other's lips. "I am the furthest minion of he who now rules the Dark Tower, and Earth has been given into that king's red hand." "Red? Why do you say red?" "Never mind. We'll not speak of him, although you'll learn more than you cared to if you press on. What hurt you once will hurt you twice. This is not the beginning, but the beginning's end. You'd do well to remember that, but you never do." "I don't understand." "No, you don't. You never did. You never will. You have no imagination. You're blind that way." "What did I see?" the gunslinger asked. "What did I see at the end? What was it?" "What did it seem to be?" The gunslinger was silent, thoughtful. "There was a light," the gunslinger said finally. "Great white light, and then—" He broke off and stared at the man in black. He was leaning forward, and an alien emotion was stamped on his face, writ too large for lies or denial. It was awe or wonder. Perhaps they were the same. "You don't know," he said, and began to smile. "Oh, great sorcerer who brings the dead to life, you don't know. You're a fake." "I know," the man in black said. "But I don't know what." "White light," the gunslinger repeated, and then a blade of grass. One single blade of grass that filled everything, and I was tiny, infinitesimal. "Grass." The man in black closed his eyes. His face looked drawn and haggard. "A blade of grass. Are you sure?" "Yes," the gunslinger frowned, "but it was purple." "Hear me now, Roland, son of Stephen. Would you hear me?" "Yes." And so the man in black began to speak. "The universe," he said, "is the great all, and offers a paradox too great for the finite mind to grasp. As the living brain cannot conceive of a non-living brain, although it may think it can, the finite mind cannot grasp the infinite. The prosaic fact of the universe's existence alone defeats both the pragmatist and the romantic. There was a time, yet 100 generations before the world moved on, when mankind had achieved enough technical and scientific prowess to chip a few splinters from the great stone pillar of reality. Even so, the false light of science, knowledge if you like, shone in only a few developed countries. One company, or cabal, led the way in this regard, North Central Positronics, it called itself. Yet, despite a tremendous increase in available facts, there were remarkably few insights. "Gunslinger, our many times great-grandfathers conquered the disease which rots, which they called cancer, almost conquered aging, walked on the moon." "I don't believe that," the gunslinger said flatly. To this the man in black merely smiled and answered, "You needn't." If it was so, they made or discovered 100 other marvelous baubles. But this wealth of information produced little or no insight. There were no great odes written to the wonders of artificial insemination, having babies from frozen man sperm, or to the cars that ran on power from the sun. Few, if any, seem to have grasped the truest principle of reality. New knowledge leads always to yet more awesome mysteries. Greater physiological knowledge of the brain makes the existence of the soul less possible, yet more probable by the nature of the search. Do you see? Of course you don't. You've reached the limits of your ability to comprehend. But never mind, that's beside the point. What is the point, then? The greatest mystery the universe offers is not life, but size. Size encompasses life, and the tower encompasses size. The child who is most at home with wonder says, "Daddy, what is above the sky?" And the father says, "The darkness of space." The child, "What is beyond space?" The father, "The galaxy." The child, "Beyond the galaxy?" The father, "Another galaxy." The child, "Beyond the other galaxies?" The father, "No one knows." You see? Size defeats us. For the fish, the lake in which he lives is the universe. What does the fish think when he is jerked up by the mouth through the silver limits of existence and into a new universe where the air drowns him and the light is blue madness? Where huge bipeds with no gills stuff it into a suffocating box and cover it with wet weeds to die. Or one might take the tip of a pencil and magnify it. One reaches the point where a stunning realization strikes home. The pencil tip is not solid. It is composed of atoms which whirl and revolve like 1,000,000,000,000 demon planets. What seems solid to us is actually only a loose net held together by gravity. Viewed at their actual size, the distances between these atoms might become leagues, gulfs, eons. The atoms themselves are composed of nuclei and revolving protons and electrons. One may step down further to subatomic particles, and then to what? Tachyons? Nothing? Of course not. Everything in the universe denies nothing. To suggest an ending is the one absurdity. If you fell outward to the limit of the universe, would you find a board fence and signs reading "Dead End"? No. You might find something hard and rounded, as the chick must see the egg from the inside. And if you should peck through that shell or find a door, what great and torrential light might shine through your opening at the end of space? Might you look through and discover our entire universe is but part of one atom on a blade of grass? Might you be forced to think that by burning a twig you incinerate an eternity of eternities? That existence rises not to one infinite, but to an infinity of them. Perhaps you saw what place our universe plays in the scheme of things as no more than an atom in a blade of grass. Could it be that everything we can perceive, from the microscopic virus to the distant Horsehead Nebula, is contained in one blade of grass that may have existed for only a single season in an alien time flow? What if that blade should be cut off by a scythe? When it begins to die, would the rot seep into our own universe and our own lives, turning everything yellow and brown and desiccated? Perhaps it's already begun to happen. We say the world has moved on. Maybe we really mean that it has begun to dry up. Think how small such a concept of things makes us, Gunslinger. If a god watches over it all, does he actually mete out justice for a race of gnats among an infinitude of races of gnats? Does his eye see the sparrow fall when the sparrow is less than a speck of hydrogen floating disconnected in a depth of space? And if he does see, what must the nature of such a god be? Where does he live? How is it possible